Saccone is a motivational speaker. He and I have gotten to know each other over the last couple of years. We, like I say, we have a businessmen's lunch on Thursdays. It's downtown. And it's one of those deals where you got one plumber and one electrician and one HVAC guy and one motivational speaker and an insurance guy, a lawyer, you know, so you've only got one person in every trade, and you get together and you share business and all with each other. But I just got to know Saccone and watched some of his YouTube videos and stuff, and thought it would be good for him to come in here and give a motivational speech to you guys for a few minutes. One of the things that he's going to talk about today, I don't know everything, but it's going to be, what are you wearing? And it's something that I learned many years ago, and I think about it a lot. I think about, what am I wearing, how do I look, what's the first impression, you know, we hammer down on that all the time. You know, I learned, one of the things that I learned is that, you know, if I'm going into a serious meeting where, you know, it matters and all, then I'll make sure that I wear dark colors. It would be dark blue or navy blue. You see that I have a lot of navy blue shirts. I don't have that on today. I'm not as serious today as I might be on another day. But, you know, some of that stuff matters. And that's what Saccone's going to talk about. Welcome, buddy.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
First, I want to ask, how was everybody 4th? Good. All right. Well, I can tell you that mine was pretty exciting. Why? Because I spent 8 hours actually on the road, driving to Louisiana, to a place called Vidalia, Louisiana. It's actually on the other side of Natchez, Mississippi. And we had a family reunion. It was my wife's family reunion. And of course, you know, tell me one of the things that you take home from a family reunion. Anybody know?
Food. Chicken.
Not just food, but a t-shirt, right? A t-shirt. We had some of the brightest colors I've ever seen. I mean, we had, a neon orange t-shirt. And this t-shirt, I mean, you could see it from space. I'm serious. If we cluttered together, you could see everybody. But the thing about it was, we were in a hotel, and there was another family reunion. They were there. They had on t-shirts as well, but theirs were like green. Now, why am I telling you this? Well, Greg mentioned about it. He saw a video, in fact, that I did entitled, "What Are You Wearing and Where Are You Going?" And in the video, I talked about seeing someone who was, let's say, dressed to go bowling. I mean, you saw them with their bowling shoes on, their khaki pants, their polo shirt, and they had on the glove with the fingers cut out. You would think to yourself, well, that person's probably going bowling. Or maybe if you saw a young lady who was wearing a bikini, and she had on a bikini top, bikini bottom with shorts over it, flip-flops and shades. You probably think she was going to the beach, or maybe even to the pool. Or maybe if you saw someone who was dressed like you, wearing work boots and pants and a shirt, you would think, okay, this person's going to work. And so in that video, I talked about, what are you wearing and where are you going? Because most of the times when you see someone dressed, they are dressed for a specific thing. They are going to do a job. I tell my kids all the time that, you know, I'm not raising children, I'm raising adults. And they look at me like I'm crazy, like, wait a minute, we're not adults, we're kids. I say, okay, look, do you wait till you get to school to put your school clothes on? They say no. I said, do you wait till you get to church to put your church clothes on? They say no. I said, do you wait till you get in the pool to put on your swimming suit? They say no. I said, why? I say, because you always get ready somewhere else, right? You always you get dressed somewhere else. Well, you know, wait till you become an adult to learn how to be one. I said, now is the time, and this is the place where you learn the skills you're going to need to be an adult. Well, the same thing is true even when you're working. You know, what you wear and how you wear says a lot about you. Let me ask you a question. Name one person that you want to meet in person, like a famous person, whether it's an actor, whether it's a singer, a politician. Think of that person, the person that you want to meet. Now, how do you want to dress when you see them? What do you want to have on? How do you want to look? You want to have a good first impression. My next door neighbor had a birthday party for his son a couple of weeks ago. And of course, you know, well, his son being 3, everybody else had to bring their little kids over there. And I saw this one guy, and I mean, he had on a nice t-shirt, a nice pair of shorts, but I looked down at his feet, and he literally had on boots that had plaster on them. And I'm like, wait a minute, now something's wrong with this picture. Because you dressing, you're coming to a party, you're coming to a picnic, and yet and still you have on boots with plaster on. I mean, that throws the whole thing off. You know, when you go to the door, when you get out of your truck, when you walk up to the door and ring the bell, those first impressions make all the difference in the world. What the customer thinks about you from that point, I mean, just from your physical appearance, it's going to set in their mind what type of person I'm dealing with. And so being able to actually dress for the part that you want to play, dress for the success that you want to have. Have you ever been in a situation where someone looked at you and they sized you up based upon just what you were wearing? They thought about your intelligence or how much education you had or your background just because of what you had on. Now, if I would have came here today wearing a pair of flip-flops and shorts and a tank top, I probably wouldn't give me too much credit. And I mean, you know, believe me, I would rather not be wearing this because it is hot outside. But I wanted to make sure that I drove home the point that it's important that what you wear and how you look, especially with first impressions, that goes a long way, especially when you're dealing with the public. Now, if you're not dealing with the public, that's fine. But if you're dealing with the public, they have a perception about you based upon your appearance. I used to work for Circuit City, and I used to actually service their stores, their phone system, their alarm systems. And I used to have to go to each store, and I had a uniform similar to what you're wearing today. But even with that, I wanted to keep it clean. I wanted to keep it neat. Why? Because I wanted people to respect who I was. It wasn't just about the company I was representing. It was about me, myself. Every year, they have a chili cook-off. And they used to have it downtown. I think they moved it out to the fairgrounds now. Well, with the Motivational Business Group, I was out there one year, and I was actually being their pitch man, if you will. You know, I was up there, you know, kind of announcing to everybody, said, you know, we were, and we actually were the defending champs for the chili cook-off because we had actually won in the meat category the previous year. But I stood there, and I kept saying, defending champs. I said, the only reason you came to the chili cook-off was to taste our chili. I said, everything else is just a distraction. I even went on to say that the only problem with our chili is that the bowls are too small. And believe it or not, people kept coming and kept coming. Why? Because of my presentation, because of what I was doing. And you know what? There was a young lady, she said, look, if you ever want to sell real estate, here's my card. I mean, your presentation says so much about you. It's not only in fact reflective of the company, but it's reflective of you. I want to end, in fact, with the story because I think that it ties in real good with what I'm sharing with you today. How many of you are, in fact, familiar with Joseph in the Old Testament, in the Bible? Anybody? Okay. You know, it's amazing how if you read the Word of God, at times God will show you stuff that you really didn't pick up on. Because if you ever get a chance, and if you want to read it in your spare time, it's Genesis chapter 40 and chapter 40 and 41. Joseph had been arrested, had been thrown in prison, and then with these two guys, they got in trouble with the Pharaoh. And they went in prison as well. Both of them had a dream, and they were disturbed by the dream. Well, Joseph interpreted their dreams, and he asked one of the guys, said, look, when you get a chance, when you're up there with the Pharaoh, can you tell him about me? Can you look out for me? And if you go to Genesis chapter 41, it says, and 2 full years later, Pharaoh had a dream. Now, Joseph had an opportunity to get upset and get mad because he had been forgotten about. Because actually, at the end of chapter 40, it says, but the butler forgot Joseph. So 2 years later, Pharaoh has a dream. And Pharaoh, he couldn't get anybody to interpret that dream. Long story short, the butler, in fact, remember Joseph, called him in. When Joseph had a chance to go to the Pharaoh, what did he do? He says he cleaned himself up. He presented himself to the Pharaoh. And then when he did the job, he could do the work, but he was also wise enough to dress the part. Because when Pharaoh looked around, he said, who's wise and discreet as you? In other words, he didn't look out of place. His appearance was royal in and of itself, which actually was another segue to him moving into that position. Now, had he taken the whole attitude, well, look, I'm not dressing up. You forgot about me. I'm not representing myself. I'm just going to go in here, do my job, and come out. He would have went back to prison and died in prison. But because he was smart enough and wise enough to say, look, okay, I'm going before the Pharaoh. I need to spruce myself up. I need to make sure that I'm representing myself. And so when he went, even in doing that, He positioned himself to get that job. Now, I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna be done. You never know who's watching. You never know who's looking at you. You never know who is paying attention to you. It's not just for you, but even for the new hires, even for the guys that just started. If they see you not really taking that much attention to your appearance, but they're not gonna pay heed. But if they see you always stepping up, if they see you with your shirt ironed, if they see you clean shaven, with your clothes as clean as possible, then guess what? They're gonna say, okay, look, that's the standard. That's what I need to be doing. That's what I need to be focusing on. And so with that, I want to leave you with this question. What are you wearing? And where are you going?
Thanks. Okay. All right. Good job.